Hello, Twitch, and hello, Internet. To all those who seek adventure, justice, and big damage numbers that come out of the enemy's head, welcome to Knights of New Avalon, a Beacon Odyssey, the only NLR game with a 15% boost to crit chances. Before we do anything else, let me introduce you to my amazing players and beacons who are joining me today. Starting with, let's go with Lucian.
Ah, hey, I'm Lucian. I'm playing Cam, the solitary angler, this time with a level in Tidecaller. One with the
Ooh.
water.
One with the water. Going on next to everyone's most favorite and expensive egg.
Oh shit, that's me. Hi, I'm Emily, or Egg-chan. Today I'm playing Haze Yoon, Sapphire's Glare, still camping Gravewalker. Same shit as last time. Just
Perfect.
more of it.
New week, same shit.
Next, our wonderful gunslinger and metal man. Let's go to Chouse.
Yo, what's up? I'm Chouse. I'll be playing Ajax with even more metal, but I've seeming to have maxed out the amount of guns I can sling, at least on the character keeper. So once I figure that out, I'll be slinging more guns. But yeah.
And then last here today, but certainly never least, Foxy.
Hey gang, what's going on? It's Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as your favorite Fox Philly's finest. And today I'm happy to reprise my role as Kana Alva, the Aureate Cavalier, our lovely little elf arsenal, with a level in Berserker now.
Oh, Yankee. And unfortunately, we do not have Essie with us today, who normally plays Maeve, our tortured yet delightful Equinox, I believe, yes. But for everyone else in the world other than those five, I am your game maestro, Tate Washburn. Speaking of those players and everything that they have been doing, we are going to move over to a scene. Actually, yeah, let's really quick. Last time, y'all finished your quest. You sort of did some downtime activities. And the last shot that we had was of an envelope, a specific envelope, with a symbol of a 5-petaled flower. Right now, you all see that same envelope sitting on a desk in front of the four of you, with the other side of that desk occupied by y'all gotta forgive me. Sorry. The other side of that desk occupied by Anselm the Merciful. Cam, you are familiar. The other three, you have probably or maybe heard about them. I don't want to put any words into Kana's mouth, who might be the least knowledgeable here of people of New Avalon. But he is a pretty important knight that you might be familiar with. He's one of the Knights of the Round Table, the governing body of knights. He sits in front of you, seemingly concerned. He says, "You have, all five of you, been invited."
An invitation? To where?
He sort of rubs the side of his head. One of the 5 petals of the Magnolia realms has requested that you arrive for a garden party.
Which petal?
He looks through his notes. He doesn't seem to be too familiar with like the various petals, like the lush petal, it seems. It appears, in fact, Hayes, it is part of your extended family that has specifically requested that you arrive.
Kana will turn his head a little bit. Ah, yes, friend Hayes, you are from the Magnolia Realms, yes?
Yes, though I haven't been many times.
Are you looking forward to returning home?
Forward to visiting. I don't consider it home. New Avalon is
Interesting.
my home.
Interesting.
But, Sir Anselm, did they provide a reason that they want us to visit? Or simply invitation?
This is the point where you see that he's, again, but like rubbing his temples. He seems quite nervous. Like, I'm not sure how familiar the four of you are with politics of the Magnolia Realms, but no, there was no reason given. I need to emphasize here, this is not simply an invitation. How much do you know of the garden parties of the Magnolia Realms?
A little bit.
Well, for the other three of you who don't seem to have an answer, this is not just going to be some nice appetizers and music and conversation. These parties are where governance happens in the Magnolia Realms, where decisions happen. It's my understanding that they will likely ask you to perform in some perfunctory ritual of attuning to the realm crystal and all the sort of events of a official summit between the five that is planned to be soon. And it's no mystery to me that they will ask you to be at that summit to do so. And it makes me worried.
Has there been tension between the five realms?
There always has been to some extent. Currently, one of the realms, one of the petals, the Radiant Petal, has been campaigning for separation. The five petals are each their own separate realm, technically held together through a very complex set of bridges across rivers and a single realm crystal. And this is not always to the best of everyone. You've lived in nations, you've seen New Avalon. Whenever you have enough people around, when someone prospers, it's sometimes at the expense of another group. And the petals feel this more so than completely unified realms, let's say. It's been murmured about and rumored and discussed, and usually there's been no traction, but now both the Radiant and Vibrant petals are petitioning. They need to convince only one more.
Confirmation it was the Radiant and the Vibrant petals that were...
Yes.
Okay.
Is your
I think
understanding that the Lush
you
Petal hopes to join them? Or do they seek to stand against them?
You have to understand that I am only giving the most official statements from them.
Mhm.
I am not one to politic. I leave that to the wizards.
Understood.
But as far as I know, the Lush Petal has stood against such things. As has the Prosperous Petal. The last and fifth petal, the Bountiful Petal, has not been as direct. They have not made a definitive statement one way or the other. Now, I do think out of character really quick, Hayes and Ajax, you two would have the best chance if you wanted to roll something to understand even the process of separating those realms.
Yeah.
Or you could just ask about that, but...
I'll go ahead and
There is
grab
the
dice.
recall lore narrative action.
Exactly.
It's true.
Ooh,
Mhm.
That is the...
that would be fun.
It's like narrative action. Why isn't it loading? There it is. Recall lore.
I would love to do that.
Let's see. That is a 19 on the die. And then you add
All right.
what to it? Or
Grit,
Yo,
at
Greek.
least.
Okay,
And then
so
you add a d6 for if you want to use a skill in particular, but with the grit
Okay.
you hit 20 anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will give you an answer, and you can change or modify that answer as long as it remains in the spirit of the GM's original answer. The GM may ask what you think the answer is before providing theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, let me give you the answer because I have like a very specific one. Ajax, you would understand that you haven't like inspected their realm crystal, but you know the Magnolia Realm's realm crystal is quite unique in that it is basically they have made a very tiny mini realm around it as sort of a defensive mechanism in a large sort of it's called the palace or temple of the crystal, depending on the petal you're in. And then 5 realms attached to that are attached to each other through these bridges. Like I said, to separate these would be a monumental task. It might be impossible, honestly. And it's definitely impossible if you don't have the majority of the petals in on it, simply by like the distribution of mages across the petals.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't have the magical oomph to do it without at least 3 of the petals in on it.
Yeah.
Let alone, you know, the political and social like agreements that have been made between these places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the only other thing that I could think of would be that the realms that split off would need to not only sever those connections, but they would also need to either replace or disrupt the center crystal that they have, so that their own realms can
Mhm.
kind of, I guess,
Yeah, they need their own
as
crystal.
own unit. Yeah,
Exactly.
the course of like doing that would also be another monumental task on its own, especially with, I mean, I guess within realm space it would be a lot easier to like have the 3 that split off become like their own kind of, I guess, tri-wall or tri-union.
Yeah, well,
But
and I think to be clear, especially because you're recalling lore, the petals want to be each their own separate realm. They're not like making a new union of 3.
okay.
They're saying each one their own. And there's been a bunch of different proposals on how to do it, of getting new realm crystals, of splitting the one into 5 pieces, and all of them are kind of impractical.
Yeah. Yeah, like Brexit. Sorry, I should
Yeah,
have said that while
like
you were
Brexit.
while you had something in your mouth, Foxy.
Oh shit! I wasn't ready.
So casual.
Just call it metaphor on like minute 1. God damn.
Okay.
Did you watch Aragon and on page 5 go like, oh, it's Star Wars? Like, come on, man.
It's Star Wars, but without, lightsabers. It's just swords. All right, cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you understand, and you do see Anselm sort of. He has a bunch of other notes on his desk along with this letter that's like clearly been opened. It wasn't addressed to you guys in particular. It was addressed to the Beacon program. It was like requesting New Avalon to send you guys because I think you would all be aware you're considered a joint resource of the 3 original realms, like the 3 realms that have predated the realm collapse. So yeah, they get to do this. There's nothing that like the Knights are gonna do or say against that. And the Knights themselves are kind of a multi-realm organization as it is as well. Like every realm has some people from there that still live in those realms that do stuff in those realms that's considered a Knight.
And then the 3 OG realms are New Avalon.
The Magnolia Realms and the Ald Isles.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what you recall, and Anselm is again obviously nervous about this, and I think even with that rolling insight, there's more to it. If you guys wanted to ask now or let him.
So, we just got back.
I think it's been 2-3 weeks, honestly.
I haven't even gotten to go on a fishing expedition. And you're already sending us off for some bureaucratic bullshit, Lemmy? Like, what the fuck is this about?
Friend Cam seems displeased.
It's like, I wasn't planning on assigning you a mission this early, and at least it's not going to be a terrible one. It's not clearing out dungeons. It's a dinner party. Just happens to be one that also will involve maybe the political future of one of our most important allies.
You know, just as well as us, that this is not going to be some party. There's no way to get us out of this?
All right. It's not just some party, and not for the reasons you think. Do you remember the it could be, honestly. I don't know. I'd say, do you remember the information you gave me about Fennec the Wise?
Yeah.
We haven't found any other explicit events of people going into the ether, coming out, and becoming an aetherling. But
I see.
just, and he looks around his office for a second. Like, it seems almost reflexive as he just left, right. And you feel his magic, this, like, stalwart, steely surety extend through the room and back. And just... That's the problem, is that there's nothing. Not even rumors, not even folk tales. And there should be. I think that the wizards know something they're not telling us. And that usually means there's something going on. That there's some credit to these things.
Right.
To this
and
idea.
Seeing as how none of us, and he kind of, Cam looks at the rest of the beacons in the room, seeing how none of us have any diplomatic training, would it not make sense for somebody in a higher position in the Knights with some, you know, maybe diplomatic training or experience be sent along with us as perhaps like a, not a handler per se, but, you know, somebody
I
to
have
lead the
to imagine
discussions?
that when Cam says,
Yeah.
like, none of us have diplomatic skill, the camera just pans over to Kana staring there with the most blank stare you've ever seen somebody have.
Mhm.
It's not
No
a thought
thoughts.
between his eyes.
None.
Somebody
It's like,
like you, for example, Lemmy.
Lemmy Anselm. How dare you? That's so
Lemmy's
good. I
fucking
have to write that down.
hilarious.
I think that that's his nickname, is Anselm Lemmy.
Absolutely, yeah. At least that's
It
what
sure
Cam
is
calls him.
now.
That's so good. Don't let Maeve catch wind of that.
It's definitely a childhood one. Like this, you were younger together. This is like before he was
Yeah.
officially this important knight.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's like, well, I am going
Oh,
as well. Just not to the parties you will be. The way that they do governance is a string of garden parties that you're supposed to visit all of, each one held by a different family, a different mayor, a different group. It is not easily covered by just one group of people, and I would like you all to stick together, along with your liaison for the event. He pulls out from the letter a... it's like a business card looking thing, and it has a name on it, but when he places it down, you can sort of tell, even before really examining it, it sort of points in a direction magically when you hold it. Holding it, you'll know where someone is. The name on it is Jasmine Fawn. This is the daughter of one of the council members who requested your presence specifically. Hugh Hayes is who he's saying this to. Jasmine is a of the social status and age that most of you will be seen as simply socializing with her, and not evoke suspicion, not as, say, important as her mother, Willow Fawn, who is one of the more important council members in the Lush Petal. But she's also a well-trained diplomat and a rising political star. She will keep you out of trouble while you investigate the thing I really want you to investigate.
Which is?
I am worried that more people may have been replaced in some way or altered by the Aether.
Like what happened with Fennec.
Exactly.
Which we, if you remember correctly, had no way of detecting until he,
Then we must go swiftly.
Well, until you touched the crystal. If we can prevent any realm collapses or breaking or any issues until the actual event of the Council of the Five Petals is what they call it, where you will be allowed to touch the crystal as part of a ritual, then you will be able to identify them, or at least that's what the report between Ajax and Hayes seemed to imply. And you guys do know you felt something like that, and Hayes in particular was very attuned to, that's an Aetherling.
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
There were signs before the realm crystal as well, just not very solid ones. Something that could give us a gist or a direction, potentially.
Potentially.
But no hard conclusion.
You just need to... You don't need to find them before that point. Just prevent anything catastrophic from happening. And I will be doing my best, as will Willow, as will Jasmine, as will many other people who don't agree with the idea of the Magnolia Realm splitting up. That part's not all on you. Just don't accelerate things, maybe.
Politics are like
Great.
hungry cliff wolves. Too many mouths where there should be unity.
Quite so.
That's
Anselm seems completely unfazed by that saying. Like, I don't know where Kana gets all of these, if they are things he's heard other people say, but... He's
not
like, yeah,
like
okay,
him.
I get the metaphor.
That's the thing. He's not trying to be poetic. He just talks in metaphor a lot.
Yeah.
This is the way people from his place talk.
Yeah, and you get the sense Anselm is quite familiar with that as someone who probably does a lot of diplomacy with the Old Isles.
Hmm.
And so he
Nonetheless-
does... sorry.
It sounds as if it is a game we will have to play, friends.
lucky for us. It sounds like Anselm's handling most of the important political stuff. We just gotta do beacon things.
Kana gives a wide smile at Cam. I prefer dungeons, personally.
I prefer fishing.
Well, you'll have at least a little time to yourselves there. Perhaps you can fish off of one of their beautiful bridges. Participate in some of their sparring matches they have between the petals. Things of that nature. They are not a realm only of gardens, despite what you may have heard.
Should be interesting.
According to my records, it shows that the largest weight freshwater bass was caught within the Magnolia realms. Perhaps you may have a shot at beating that record, Cam.
I'll have you know that record is a fraud. There's
It's
been
a sham.
Lead weights in the stomach of the fish.
there's been a lot of discussion about it in the past.
The Magnolia
large-
realms are known for their biomancy is a broad term of manipulating living things. You're like, that man grew that fish after he caught it. He made that fish bigger. We done been there.
There's a lot of questionable things about the catching of that fish.
Man was an expert. fish manipulation. I think this is an excellent part. Like, you guys have this conversation about this as Anselm just sort of smiles and it's like, I'll leave you to prepare. And he sort of gestures out of his office. And I'm going to switch to some...
Yeah, I love this track.
The fishing lore.
Well, no, start. What are we doing? All right. Yeah, so you guys have time to prepare for a quest. I'll say you know Maeve just wasn't in that meeting because she's still kind of on probation, but is being given similar orders. She probably actually maybe wasn't there. We'll catch up with Maeve when we have a chance to. But she'll be in the Magnolia Realms when you guys are. In fact, you understand you don't have to take the ship there. The captain will probably bring the ship, but like there's pretty easy travel between these major realms. And in the meantime, you as beacons get to pick your sort of loadout for the quest based on what you know. I'll also let you maybe roll some kind of recall lore, insight, the narrative actions like that to see if you pick up any other information of what you might need. But the space is sort of yours to prepare as you will. I will say you also have access to like anything the knights have, including the sort of training gym in the arena, or shops, basic shops if you want to go shopping, real quick.
I would love to recall lore specifically if Hayes would know anything about the Lush realm in particular, or the Lush petal in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could I use my Holder of Magnolian Tradition skill?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yahoo! How is a 19?
A 19, the
Good
GM
numbers.
gives you a truthful answer. You can propose additional detail, but you can't invalidate the GM's answer. So what's your question?
So I don't... See, this is maybe something that
we can chat a bit if you're...
I should have thought about this previously. I don't know which petal, Hayes' family is from.
So at least your mom's side of the family is from the Lush petal, because it's her sort of extended family are the ones who are requesting you to come there, and they are politicians there. Willow Fan, in particular, is a member of the Petal Council for the Lush petal.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to be part of your question, so you can ask an additional question on here. This is just like stuff I think you would know.
Right.
You just know vaguely, because like they share a name. You know that they're probably like second or third cousins. And that Craig Fun is... Yeah, Craig Fun is quite proud of his plant, like, exporting business, because they're not just pretty flowers and plants, it's also, like, living things like that you got from your cousin, or magical items, or armor, or vehicles, or magical components for larger, complex structures. Several of the buildings in New Avalon use wood sourced from the Magnolia Realms. In particular, the Lush petal.
Okay. So... I guess what I'm curious most about right now is... what Willow Fawn's relationship is with the other council members. Like, is she well liked, or is she in good standing, or is she like kind of a lone wolf, or what is?
Yeah, with a 19 especially, you are generally aware of the politics of the various petals. Like you probably, like your grandpa probably has kept up with that more, and probably has talked about it more than once. You know, generally Willow is seen as quite shrewd, and is more of a council member for the family business, this sort of export-import thing. She is not hated, but politicians rarely are friends in actuality. But she at least is in a standing where people cooperate with her. It's really Nimbus Zhao, the mayor of the Lush Petal, that is seen as this like person who helps bring compromise between different like interests and factions, and is good at negotiating between people. Where Willow is seen as someone who is great at negotiating her position.
I see.
But yeah, that's I think the answer to that. And if there's other details around that, 100% you can. Yeah. And like like you were told, Jasmine Fawn is seen as the eldest daughter of Willow and Craig, and is also getting more and more involved with politics, and is seen as quite eloquent and shrewd herself.
I see.
There's a few other siblings and other side cousins, and there's a whole bunch of people, and you can always ask about more of them, but that's people that would be known. Anyways, any other sort of checks to gather information, or just before you start making decisions on how you set up?
Yeah, so you said that there's like major ways of transport between realms, right?
Yeah.
Is this something that I could take my houseboat through?
Oh, for sure.
I knew that was
Not at all
coming.
difficult.
In that case,
You've definitely been to the Magnolia Realms for fishing before,
Okay.
and you just take your houseboat there. Like, it's not hard.
great. In that case, regardless of anybody's traveling with Cam, Cam is gonna travel by houseboat and gather information to try to see like what rumors there are about, because like Ansel was talking about this stuff with rumors, and he wants to essentially verify that there's no rumors, and also maybe try to get some information about the petals.
Mhm.
Related
So
to
you're
that.
looking, because those are two separate things. There's the petals conflict, and then there's the rumors of people being replaced. That's where there's no rumors of like
Okay, so yeah,
Aetherlings
well,
becoming a fully intelligent person has never been heard of before. And the fact that there's not even like weird stories means the wizards are messing with his information. So you could look for outside information on that, or
Yeah,
on the
so
Magnolia Realms.
we'll do that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna roll.
And I think you guys have a few days before you have to leave. So in my head, this is a scene of like Cam on his fishing boat, or on his houseboat, like not even traveling there yet, just sort of picking up lore and information from other fishermen who do love to tell themselves a tall tale.
Yeah, so I'll roll. Gonna use my
God damn, it's
houseboat
magic to tell us.
enthusiast
That's where you're at.
background skill to see if anybody else knows anything.
Yeah.
How does a 14 sound?
I'll give you a truthful answer, and you can propose additional details. This is recall lore as well, or no? This is
Gather information.
gather information. Right.
I get to
That's
Ask a question.
ask me one question about the topic, and I will respond truthfully.
Okay. Is there anybody? Okay, yeah, because doesn't that be yes or no? Where could I go in Magnolia to see if there's anybody that knows anything about these rumors that don't exist?
Okay. Well, I think part of this role is that you kind of go to that place anyways,
Mhm.
and that's not really on the topic of the Aetherlings. I'll say the place that you end up going is a ship, like an Aether ship dealership, effectively. These are very specialized vehicles, so it's not a dealership like there's rows of the same thing. This is like a shipyard where people make these things, and so that's where a lot of the most realm-traveling fishermen and adventurers and just people end up being a lot.
Okay.
In my head, yeah, there's probably like a bar or a cafe or a few of those nearby where you know that's where a lot of the most realm-weary travelers go to. But did you have a question about Aetherlings replacing people? Because that's really just where do you find information, and you sort of
Yeah,
implied to
sorry.
already know
I guess.
that.
Yeah. I guess to clarify, where in Magnolia can I go to find Magnolia-specific rumors?
Ooh, okay, yeah. So you're at one of these. This is more like a diner would be the word we'd use. They probably call it a cafe just because it's New Avalon. And you overhear someone who's clearly, like by their dress and by the ship they're talking about, from the Magnolia Realms. and we can, if you want to play the scene, we can, but we can skim over it real quick. As you sort of like ply him with drinks and just trading tall tales, he mentions that the place where you find the most rumors isn't really the realm ships. It's at a garden party where a lot of stuff is, but not like the politicians one. There are also a lot of these parties for I think spirit callers, like what Hayes does, actually. They tend to have a lot of the most interesting rumors about Aetherlings. It is sort of where this art originated.
Okay.
And there is just like an industry, if not like a whole subculture that Hayes and her parents are part of spirit callers, people who go into the Aether Wilds, find Aetherlings, and sort of cleanse them of this and bring them back. They're not really dungeon delvers the way that knights are, usually. Although some of them do both, obviously. But they are still a very necessary service, and they also sort of help anytime an Aetherling gets in, because it still happens every once in a while, and especially in the Magnolia realms, where because they're 5 realms that are connected by so many little bridges, Aetherlings kind of pop out of the river every once in a while pretty easily.
Okay.
So that's where you would want to go.
All right, understood. So
Spirit Callers Party, let's say.
yes, the Spirit Callers Garden Party. I will be sure to bring that up later. All right.
Perfect. Anyone else? The other two?
Not as far as like making any rolls to gain information. I don't think Kana has anything useful to offer in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. You mentioned we had a couple of days. I assume that's not enough time for a downtime action?
No, you are. This is the space and time in which you're making your preparations and picking your gear.
In which case, then, yeah, I don't think Kana has any mechanical actions to take. I think narratively, he might, like... I know he talked with Hayes last episode about possibly, like, you know, working on some training, so he might seek them out for a bit of light jousting if they're available or free for it.
Yeah, and we can even roll that into the scene that you play where you pick sort of your gear.
Cool.
So I would love to give that a little narrative action. Ajax, were you going to look up anything? Just want to give you that chance.
Preemptively, I don't know. The main thing Ajax would be, I guess, interested in learning is the reasoning behind why the let's see, which the petals that are wanting to
leave,
separate, the radiant and vibrant ones,
yeah,
they're wanting to leave, and then like the reasoning behind each of the petals taking their stances and seeing if there's any like trade imbalances, or if, you know, certain petals are profiteering off of the backs of any of the other petals.
Right, I'll give you 2 different roll options then. If you want Ajax to make his own conclusions, it will be gain insight based off of like things he can look up, research, etc. If you want it to be what someone else, like an expert on the subject, maybe has found out, that will be gather information.
I feel like Ajax would probably go for a gain insight and see, like, gather that information firsthand and crunch through all of the stuff themselves, and probably look at even a lot of the stuff that probably wouldn't make much sense to, like, or gather some of the information, like trade stuffs and like the summaries of all of this.
Because you have the interspell, the wizard internet, and there's just as many records of every kind of interaction, news stories, businesses, stuff like transactions that you can find on our internet. So yeah, if you want to basically I'm doing like a deep dive search into these numbers to sort of get insight, then yeah, you can roll that. I feel like at least one of your skills is about big number crunching, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, exactly that, word for word, number cruncher.
Hey!
Let's see. That is a 13 on the die, so 14 with the crit, and then the d6. That is so 14 plus 5, 19.
Mm-hmm. And so with Number Cruncher, remember you get to roll 3d6 and pick the highest. Okay,
Yeah, I rolled a
making sure.
2, 5, and a 5.
5 it is. Yeah, so then you get to ask. The total was 19, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, you get to ask 2 of the following questions about your subject of study. And I can copy you those, or I can read them off, but there's several. Here, I'm just gonna copy those in a chat for you, so you can look them over.
Okay.
You were just talking before the stream that we really should make some cheat sheet cards and just have them in the Discord.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, it's I think taking the best parts of Powered by the Apocalypse. I'm just gonna vamp a bit while Chas is making decisions. Of where like you have these middle ground and full successes and all these interesting questions that you're mechanicizing, asking specific questions about specific kinds of skills. I think it's a really fun middle ground for something that has as crunchy of combat as this has too.
It's a lot of the same base system that Lancer uses for a lot of its downtime actions. Where
Yeah.
It's similar kind of like scale of, mixed success versus crit success, and then, lists of options based on how that plays. I think this game actually like broadens it out a bit more than base Lancer does, which I think is really helpful, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially during like the crits and stuff, the players being able to like add their own thoughts into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fully.
Have you made a choice on your questions? Because I was vamping to give you that space.
Yeah. One being what recently happened or is about to happen, and then what is safe or vulnerable here.
Ooh, I like
Seem
those.
Like the 2 that at least stick out to me.
No, I love both of those questions. So you,
Yeah, good picks.
for the first one, we could give you what's recently happened. Although it's not really recent, I think you're looking at quite a lot of historical data. You are looking at, like, they don't have, like, a stock market. That's not the kind of thing that this society would have. But they do have, like, business reports on how well there's different industries doing and different individual businesses. And if you looked at just the Magnolia Realms, you would realize that each of the petals tends to have a few industries it's really in on. And because of the way life is and how people are, sometimes those industries do really well, and sometimes they do poorly. And that usually translates to, for some of the big ones, whole petals doing well or poorly. And sometimes when you're running a society, you have to make choices as to we are going to help buoy up an industry because it is important. You know, you don't want your farmers to go out of business and then not have food. And sometimes you don't do that because another industry is doing well and you don't want to take away from that. And that creates a lot of politicking between the Magnolia Realms, I think you find. But I think you also just, because you have access to so much data, see it's like, well, yeah, the same thing happens in New Avalon, just it is one big realm, so it's not individual realms politicking, it's, you know, it's arcane vehicle makers versus aether makers, vehicle makers versus, or there's hair style and fashion, and there's, you know, sports, there's like all these different vying interests because that's how societies work. It's not really that different, it's just it's tied to such a factioned system. But yeah, recently, especially the Bountiful Realm that does a lot of like food stuffs, hasn't been doing as hot. Like, they're not doing terrible, they're just not prospering the same way that the Lush Petal is, say. And also then, what is safe or vulnerable here? Ajax, I think you would understand, just even with the most basic research onto how this system works and from your role previously. Yeah, the crystal could be really vulnerable. Like, you've done more research now into how the process might work, like in an academic sense. You don't think... You think it's maybe possible to do it safely if you are really careful. But you would have to split the main crystal up. You can't do new crystals because you'd effectively have to print a whole new realm. And maybe, but it would be such a logistics thing to do. It's not easy. but then breaking the crystal would be difficult. You'd have to completely change the spell. You'd need to look at the nitty gritty of how the realm spell is to really say, but there's lots and lots and lots of
details
argument
of-
about that.
Yeah, because especially
You
with
think
it
breaking
being
is more
5
popular?
Yeah, because it seems, at least from what I've been able to gather from your descriptions, it seems like it's like 5 individual spells running on this one crystal to create like the little divides within, I guess, the butt joints
Yeah,
of,
it's
of realms.
it sort of is. It's a structure, one spell structure that has space for 5 different structures in it. But those are so intertwined now that trying to separate them would be a absolute mess. But that might be the best way to do it because of that. Or you could get 5 new crystals and try and rewrite reality from the ground up when it's been that way for forever. It's just harder. But that's what you sort of figure here. But yeah. Now, I think at this moment might be a good time to give our players a break to make final decisions on what they're doing now that they've done some research. Yeah, so I think we will see you guys in about 5-10 minutes. I was trying to think if there was a good scene to end on, but I think that's just about it. We'll be back soon. Bye.
Ajax having 300 tabs open and it just
In the Matrix, he's got it. That's it. Hello, and welcome back to Knights of New Avalon. Let me actually have the music going. I almost forgot. Anyways, we are back from break, and my players here, these beacons, were going to prepare for their next quest. To do so, you all go to what is known as the Knights Training Gym. It's not very inventively named because it wasn't done by wizards or even the Knights in charge, but by the Knights who participate in the games at the New Avalon Stadium. I wish I had a better soundscape for this in particular. Anyways,
I like it.
this gym here it's underneath the massive stadium that's sort of in the side of the city that is seen from everywhere. It's several layers below the ground floor. You are sort of brought in by Captain Zane, who's introduces you to all these locations as they walk around. There's one central sort of food court is the best word you'd have for it. There's tables that are all easily moved. They're all kind of like magically suspended in place a little bit, that you can just sort of push them around. The whole thing is extremely modular. There is something between a barista like station and bar that has drinks of any kind, and you see a lot of people this early in the morning, because I imagine this is pretty early, or midday, you can decide, but unless it's at night, they're not alcoholic, but they are like protein shakes and caffeinated things and pre-workout, and some that are just smoothies and things like that, and there's food. And then you have 3 sort of main spaces that branch off of that. There is a range, which is actually a series of ranges that you can either be at a standing position and test out ranged weaponry, or in a central position and like various targets. They have like magically constructed holograms of the things you want to target, and like the terrain can change. Or there's a obstacle course, is a completely separate section. You can sort of set speed, pacing, obstacles, terrain, and sort of figure out movement and things like that. And then thirdly, there is several little sparring spaces. They're not as big as the arena, clearly. They're sort of meant for one-on-one. And in there you can also have like artificially created enemies. They're not really very intelligent. They're not really very difficult. It's really more going through the motions and feeling out a technique is what it's for. But you can reserve them for 1v1s. And that's sort of the space you find yourself in. There are knights of all persuasions in armor, in workout clothes, in with swords and training weapons and guns that look more wizardly or sorcery or more like combat heavy, all sort of using these facilities. But it's also not like a busy day, so you can easily find equipment. And that's the space that you find yourselves in as you all sort of collectively prepare. Space is yours.
Yeah, I think the camera kind of finds Kana kind of like lightly moving on the balls of his feet in the midst of kind of one of the sparring pits. I know you said it's not really made for more than like 2 people for a 1v1, but he's a pretty small guy, so I think he's kind of like taken to one side of it. And
Mhm.
he definitely asked his friends to accompany him for some training. How many of them are here and how many of them are not just here, but also in the sparring ring with him is up to them. But I think he's kind of like looking out at whoever else is here and waiting to like
Yeah.
address them, I guess.
And I think there is seating like just outside. Think of like one long walkway with maybe like 4 rooms on either side of it. But those rooms have open glass panels. You can also like take the walls down, and then there's seating between that walkway and these arenas, so that you can also sit and, coaches can say, oh, you're lifting your elbow, or you need to do this better, that kind of thing. So you don't have to be fighting to be in this space.
Oh, Egg, you're muted.
Yeah.
You're so right. I forgot I'm muted because I was finishing my sandwich. So I think opposite of Kana, we see Hayes, who, in great contrast to Kana's seeming great comfort in this sparring ring, is holding their shovel just pretty stiffly, waiting to see how Kana approaches. Maybe nervous? Hard to say.
Anybody else there?
Probably not in this space, but Ajax would definitely probably be over by the ranges. Probably the just like more of the short range area of trying to see how effectively their assembly can manipulate their firearms and how precisely they
Sure.
do that.
I will say, before we jump into that scene, Cam, what are you doing? I want to get a sense.
Yeah, Cam is just sitting on the sides. I'm assuming there's like benches or bleachers there.
Yeah. Like I said, there's the seating to watch. Also, for the ranges are built similarly.
Yeah, Cam
If
is.
you want to be there or with the sparring.
Cam is essentially like resting between sets, essentially.
So then I'll say maybe what we do is, Ajax, you can sort of have that scene to describe how that goes, and then you can join them if we want all 4 of you to be in a larger scene together.
I like that.
Ajax, what kind of like situation are you putting yourself through? Because this can be either stand still and shoot down range, or it can be a like 360-degree sort of experience. You can pick terrain, you can pick the kind of targets. Give us a little flavor as to what situation are you training for?
Ajax, so probably the scene will pick up right as Ajax is kind of in like your more stationary kind of area. Like there's a table in front of him, the targets are directly in front of him, and at least he's starting off with one of his revolvers, almost shakily, kind of like aiming down the sights while there is this new, almost like rotating assembly on one of his pecs that protrudes a little bit, so there is that cutout for it. And there's a almost the motif of a cylinder, of a revolver cylinder, kind of just spinning and whirring as it like moves slightly. And he fires off a few rounds, and then it'll click dry, and it'll shakily and slowly kind of float back down to it as it kind of does one last spin almost freely as it kind of goes to rest, and probably actually like sinks in a little bit, and he will then go to adjust the settings for like the range to make things more complex.
Okay. Right, and I imagine by shakily, it's not like the way a human is shaky. It's making all these micro adjustments to try and find the like proper location to do this optimally. Is like the vibe I'm getting.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a small side question. If Ajax were to get some kind of, I don't know, refreshment, I don't know, like with his physiology, what would be the thing that would help him figure this out? What, like food, drink, liquid substance? I don't know.
I imagine it would be um the same kind of material that like the realm crystals are made of, but
Mhm.
they're not big enough to really like house any real spells in them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine like how say he, he'll lift his faceplate kind of like a knight's
Uh-huh,
mask,
uh-huh.
and there will just be like two rollers that kind of just
Yeah, okay.
crunch,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he'll just insert like he'll call them chips.
Yeah,
um
okay, yep.
and it'll
Okay,
just
I gotta write
crunch
that
and
down. That's pretty
grind
good.
up. And then he'll just put his face mask back down and it'll flicker back on.
So, I don't think so. Yeah, you bought a plate of these, and it sort of probably helps you sort of keep mana to a level so you can keep practicing. I think is sort of the
Mhm.
function of these. Uh, you did get a plate of these, and the guy who dropped it off, the guy who sort of runs the front bar, he seemed kind of miffed that he had to do this because there's not some like other servers are busy. His name is Dustin Waller, and he seems pretty impressed with your gun work. He's like, that's mighty fine shooting, Tex. The man has a very cowboy aesthetic. He is also a knight. That's kind of his bit in the arena.
Everybody has to
Gratitude,
have
Waller.
hobbies.
I think Kana would not understand, but we would understand seeing that when you're in the arena, there's a little bit of WWE in here of like you need a thing to stand out, and this is his. So yeah, he
Um,
compliments any shooting.
Gratitude, Waller. The essence in removing the physical aspect of marksmanship is a difficulty that I was not anticipating.
Uh, I think you would also understand he's not that smart, and he's like, "Yep, that's definitely the way I think about shooting." You treat yourself good, right? You got some friends to request that you be over there when you're done. And he points towards the arena.
Acknowledged. I have one last box of training ammunition.
There you go. So yeah, if you want to describe how you use that last box, but otherwise we can.
Um, imagine Ajax would then flip to almost the exact opposite from what they were doing before, where it is the 360 targets, and they'll load all of their weapons up with
Mhm.
this training ammunition. Um, let's see. They would probably swap from holding their revolver to let's see, what weapons would we use for this?
A cannon.
They'd probably
kidding.
swap to using their
Fucking put a hole in the wall.
flamethrower.
My bad. I'll fix that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he's using the training ammunition that's built for this, so it would look like he put a hole in it for a minute, though. Well, you make that decision. Yeah, we see Ajax like when he is shot previously, just so you have some time to make that choice. That the training ammunition is like making the idea of a bullet, and that the room tracks, and then once it hits the edge, the room projects a wider field beyond where the room is. That the sort of it creates an image of where the bullet would go according to its calculations, and it's like a very like physics based because this is a society that has to build physics, so they understand it really well. I don't know if you guys have seen like a Top Golf or like an indoor virtual golf course. It's the
My dad had
bullet
one.
equivalent of that. Yeah, yeah. Or you hit it and then it hits like a wall, which is usually a sheet, and it's calculating how fast and what angle. Yeah, so you set up a 360-degree training with as many guns as you got. It sounds like.
mhm. Um, my idea is at least like for the scene, I imagine the um the 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 mechanism will pop out again as
Mhm.
Ajax's slug thrower will once again swing out in front of them, but instead of it getting grabbed by their hands, it'll actually detach, flip again in the air, and at least for the viewer side of things, like for like the visual stuff, a blue, almost glowing outline of the slug thrower will appear as it just stops in midair and gets like leveled and ready to fire, and Ajax will grab
Mhm.
his shotgun revolvers.
Mhm.
And as he begins firing with the three weapons, I imagine he is very fluid with his movements when it comes to like just this many targets and a target-rich environment. And I can imagine
I'm
in
not
the middle of
surrounded.
it when great, I don't have to concentrate my fire anywhere. He will, once the slug thrower is out of ammunition, it will flip
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
will just raise their arm up as it notches in perfectly, and the experimental weapon on their back will have that outline gather, and it will flick forward almost over their shoulder, um,
Mhm.
and let off more rounds.
Yeah. Just roll me a d20 plus grit. That would be like a normal attack. I just want to get a vibe for how cool this is.
That is a 17 on the dice, so 18.
18. Yeah. Ajax, you go through like all these shots, and there's these various targets. I think you're not like doing anything fancy, so there's these vague shapes of different kinds. Every target that's hit, these virtual rounds like disintegrate into almost like crystal shards that dissipate, because that's sort of the structure. We have pixels for our sort of VR. Theirs is like crystalline structures. It's almost like polygons falling apart. And there's like a very satisfying glass shattering sound with each of them as you go through these guns. Uh, and on the outside from the room, there's a scoreboard. And you don't get to the high score, but I think you probably get close to your personal best as you go through, and people around are like, oh, like there's a very video gamey noise to this. This is sort of how they build up competition between knights, and that's just real good dopamine of like the good sounds and the numbers going up and all that. It's definitely built that way on purpose. Uh, yeah, I think you get like in top 20 honestly on that with that role and being a beacon.
Mhm. Um, I imagine that Ajax, at least going back to the visual side of the scene,
Yeah.
um, the last target that appears, he will then use his integrated weapon, not even
Mm-hmm.
like looking at the target, and
Mm-hmm.
just fire at it, and immediately look at all the targets, like where in the target that was hit, and then
Mm-hmm.
like exclusively view or at least pay attention to the ones that he hit with the with like the
Yeah.
with the contraption. I've yet to come up with a cool name for it. I'll figure that out.
Oh, maybe in
And
character Ajax is like, what do I call this?
yeah.
This like
And compare it.
realm holder holster.
Yeah. And see the difference in the accuracies between
Yeah.
him physically using it and the realm.
Yeah.
See the differences in the accuracies between the two, and factor that into
Yeah,
just
and
how he
your
kills
magic is
things.
super compatible with this whole like system. It's built on the same magical theory. Most people have to do like a menu. You literally just think it, and it like brings those targets up in front of you, like in the last pose they were in, and you're just sort of comparing like, yes. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's probably the scene, unless there was something else you wanted to add to that.
Yeah. He'd probably just be doing that as he's walking his way over to
Okay,
the
yeah.
to the sparring session or the sparring area where everyone else is at.
Yeah.
And just compiling data. And I imagine that like there's like a bit of like a hologram in front of him of just
Mm-hmm.
like, alrighty, so I scored these points on these targets, and these were the targets that I hit with this technique relative to, you know, the higher scoring ones that I hit with my using my hands. How much degrees and all that, and there's probably a
Yeah,
bunch of like lines and stuff being drawn.
it's literally the like math calculation meme, but it's with these things. I imagine it's like you walk by the bar, pick up another like plate of chips, of robot chips, and make your way there. Dustin's just like, that man is obsessed. All right.
I do one thing and one thing very good.
And that be shoot. Yeah. What is the scene that Ajax sort of comes in on then, as you guys are two of you are sparring and one of you are watching?
Well, I actually imagine that Kana was, because again, he wanted everyone to be here, so I think Kana's kind of just been like hanging around and waiting. And so I think as Ajax walks over, it's just like, friend Ajax, we were waiting for you. Will you be joining us?
Affirmative. I am not the greatest in martial strategies, but I may be of some assistance.
Kana nods somewhat, and I am not certain for friend Hayes, but I do not mind if you fire your weapons.
For it.
And as he kind of like sees Ajax step in, he'll kind of like, again, bring his bouncing to a stop for a bit and just... So then, friends, I have a question for the two of you. How do you think when you fight?
Well,
Are those phases what Hayes is making? Is kind of what I want to know.
yeah, probably a little bit. It's embarrassing.
Kana just smiles. And hence, we have found our first issue. But all issues, like anything else, are things to be worked on.
Okay.
He kind of starts walking a bit forward and just... Combat is like a dance. It is a problem to be solved, he says, looking at Ajax. People think I am haphazard, chaotic, even. But I see very clearly when I fight. As an example, were I to face the two of you, I acknowledge there is several things. Ajax, while your form is frail, no offense, your accuracy is unparalleled. And friend Hayes, despite your appearance, you swing like a large cave boar. Thus, were I fighting the two of you, I would try to avoid Hayes with my speed and move for Ajax where I can close the range and ideally dispatch him quickly. However, I assume you two would know I'd do that. Thus, instead, and there's a blink, Kana is under Hayes' guard, no weapon in his hand, just a fist, and just haymakers Hayes as hard as he can in the side. I swing to the table. Before he can stop, is already like hopping off Hayes' shoulder and pushing past him straight to Ajax.
I mean, does Hayes react to that? Do something?
I didn't know we were starting.
Ajax would probably instead of like reacting physically, the contraption will pop out again and just grab all of Kana.
Kana sits in Ajax's grasp. Oh no, I'm happy with it. Kana sits in Ajax's grasp. Not bad. Freehand sparks a weapon, slices his way clean.
It is sort of like a gravity thing. I imagine it's like you make a staff to push yourself up and out of it against the floor or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While that's going on, Ajax will respond in turn. And much how you would not be able to, let's see, what's it? You knew our guards wouldn't be up before the bell rang. And Ajax will start, probably reach over once they're broken loose, and reach over and start, like, the round bell. it is not unsurprising that you would go about a surprise tactic or a surprise strike.
Kind of does a double backflip and lands kind of like in front of the two of them. Wide smile on his face. Combat is a dance. Know when to lead.
Now, we can play out individual moves, or I think it'd be interesting if we have all three of you just, again, like just D20 plus thing. I think Kana probably has a skill if you have a skill, and just between Ajax and Hayes, we're only taking one score, and then Kana is taking his.
Sure. So I'll roll D20 plus grit. Do you mind if I add my student of the Sunday technique here, Tate?
I think that's entirely appropriate. This the game encourages, for those who are not familiar, that if it's not a like combat where there's going to be a bunch of units and movement and it's very critical, to be treating it as a narrative action. And I feel like this can effectively be that. I'm not going to have to do a whole narrative action because this is just for funsies. But yeah,
Speaking
like
of narrative actions, y'all are about to find out how broken the training skill is, the training ability is. So D20, my student Sunday has 2, so I get 2 accuracy there. Except I trained it last episode, 2 episodes ago. So I got another D6, so I got another rank in it. So it counts as if it's rank 3.
Yeah. And you two
D20
can do the
plus
same thing if you
36.
think that it's a sparring skill of some kind, or a fighting skill.
Yeah.
I got
AD.
personally. I rolled a 10.
A 10.
Very middle of the road.
I've got a 15 on my D20. I've got a 6 on my highest D6.
Damn,
That's 22.
Alright.
Let's see.
No, so
You know,
plus grit.
I'm gonna interfere with this a little bit.
That would also be unexpected.
So Cam picked up the Bane spell as loot last episode. Bane gives a difficulty on an attack. Obviously, we're not doing actual combat, but I'm going to try to use Bane to make kind of even the odds a little bit here.
Yeah. Well then, the question.
I'll reroll my accuracy with just 2, because mine is my 6. I had a 4 and a 2 on my accuracy. So if you want, I'll just drop
I'm
the
also
6.
if you
I'm fine
want
with
to take
that.
that 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
I
take
think
the 4.
The 4 is appropriate.
4.
So that makes that a 20 instead of a 22.
Mm-hmm.
Ajax, what did you get, or what you're gonna roll?
My thought was to add. My thought was number cruncher of just calculating
Doing the math
numbers
on the
in-
physics, yeah, calculating it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll let Foxy. Do you think that's appropriate since he's dealing against you?
Yeah,
That's
sure. Why not?
also a 3.
Yeah. That is a 20 on the die.
Damn.
And a 6.
All right.
For the accuracy.
Damn. Well then, would Cam actually do Bane, or should it be the 22 versus 26? Would he see Ajax be like, oh, he doesn't need help?
Well, that's a good point. I think Cam is mostly just interfering to interfere and to get practice with his own skill. So
would he
he'd
do
probably
the
just interfere with
obstruction
whoever
and
has the
fuck with-
highest number.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, do we? Chouse, do you remember all 3 numbers you rolled? Because we'll apply the same rule that we were gonna do to.
I had rolled a 1 and a 6, and I stopped rolling. So my second highest would be a 3. So it'd be a 23.
All right. So 23 versus 22 is the
grit. Yeah, 24 with grit.
24 versus 22. I think that's close enough. I think you two narrate. How do you stay even, and what does it look like for Cam to interfere here? In fact, let's do that first. Cam, what does it look like for you to do Bane in this moment?
I think Bane doesn't have a lot of outwardly visible effects. I think probably to Ajax, it just feels like some of the numbers are strange. Like some of the numbers don't really make sense for a moment. And from an outsider point of view, it might look like there's like a faint cloud around Ajax for a brief moment. But that's it. Nothing outwardly, nothing too visible.
Okay. Then yeah, you maybe pick a moment in Ajax's narration, be like, and that's a piece I fuck with. But I think that's, yeah, you're just kind of clouding things up. So then, for Ajax and Kana, what does this close duel look like? And also, how do you just apparently blaze right past Hayes?
I actually don't think it's blazing right past Hayes. I think at first
Like,
it's just
screw me, please.
no. I think at first it's just mostly like Kana playing around with Ajax, just like ducking and dodging shots as much as he can, just like weaving around and being annoying and hard to hit. But I think like as the shots start getting closer, it starts getting a bit tougher to dodge. Rather than like keeping more space, he's just gonna blitz further in and not engage with Ajax, but start like dueling hand to hand with Hayes, so that it's hard to hit shots on Kana without hitting Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Hayes will call out to Ajax to just take the shots, because they can take the hits.
Take the shot.
Take the shot! Do it, Piccolo! Take the shot!
Your dog, my dog. Oh my
They're
God.
leaving this one Kana trying to
Then if I
trying to
can,
hold their own.
yeah,
This
keep going.
quickly.
Sorry. So I think maybe the next action that happens is that Ajax, you probably bounce a shot off of Hayes, and that's the one that actually clips Kana. Because you only barely won, so it feels like it's just like the one hit is sort of the moment. What does that shot look like? And was it on purpose or was it a little bit on accident? Considering the numbers are being fucked with.
I'd say it would be on purpose, knowing how like much Ajax would trust Hayes, like not only in their movements but in their abilities. Like I feel like there's at least one tombstone that had been brought up, just to help out. I also can absolutely see Ajax flicking one of his revolvers up, and like right before it hits the floor, that blue outline appears again as it circles around, kind of just low and slow, as Ajax just grabs another weapon, probably his experimental rifle, and keeps up the firing, and through like it's really slow and calculated. Oh, that should not be up. The like it's just low to the ground until he knows for sure it's in the right spot, or like when Kana would be at the end of like an arc in the air, because as maneuverable as Kana is, parabolic arcs are still going to exist. And that'll probably be just like, alrighty, I've got your position, fire, bonk.
Yeah, and I think I'll count that as using my my Phantom Armory trait, where I can reduce damage by breaking one of my
I think
weapons.
you still block it, but it
I think it's like
surprise.
Pops off of Hayes' shoulder, is in midair, sees the shot, like half a dagger comes and cuts the bullet in half and lands, and just good.
You guys didn't notice, but Dylan, again, the bartender, has brought the 3 drinks for the 3 of you, or whatever it is that you wanted as like refreshment. It's like, 3 against 1 isn't exactly fair to you, Mr. Kana.
And what do you mean?
3 is a bigger number than 1.
If life was about
Hey.
numbers, we would not see unfairness. If life was about fairness, we would not see conflict. And yet, in my life, I have seen both of those in great number. Thus, I think the good with the bad. Besides, every fight is fair when there are friends involved.
Query, where's the third?
Yeah, you guys maybe... He's watching and he noticed. Cam, do you say anything to that? He's not gonna.
No,
Well,
Cam's like
'cause-
leaning
'cause
against a bar
Cam
with the
had-
drink in his hand.
Yeah, you just
Cam
picked up the
had,
drink.
Yeah, because Cam had baned on Ajax.
Yeah, just he doesn't notice that.
No, I think probably Ajax noticed, because like Bane is very clear, like to the person who's affecting where
Dustin
the
didn't
source came
notice.
from.
Dustin doesn't notice, I mean.
Right.
He's
yeah.
like... It's like... so yeah, he assumes that Cam helped the 2 of you.
Yeah, Cam's not gonna say anything. It's it's.
So if you say, "Where's that third?" You'd be like, "Well, didn't he?" Whatever. Not my business. Joy drinks. As he walks up. Where's that serving guy? We're supposed to have 3. Like he's complaining about there only being 2 servers when he needs more. Like,
It's rush hour, damn it.
I didn't realize the knights are understaffed.
Look, you
Well,
get the
we're here,
impression
yeah?
someone was supposed to be here.
I think at that point,
Also, what wants to work as a server?
yeah, I think at this
True.
point, yeah,
Understandable.
Khan just kind of like, walks forward calmly again and like, I would say put the hand on Hayes' shoulder, but I don't think he can reach Hayes' shoulder from the ground.
Yeah, only when you're fucking climbing on me, you little rat.
So I think Kana comes up and like looks up at Hayes and holds out their hand. To a good fight.
Fine.
Maybe we have better ones in the future.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
And I think
Yeah.
like Kana quirks a really weird smile. When we were on the
Yeah,
ship
Cam,
talking about home, you had a strange look, friend Hayes. You seemed malaised. But now, you just seem angry with me.
It's a little shove, Connor.
He
Yeah.
takes the shove and just I like this look better.
If you're
out of
happy.
curiosity- Oh, sorry. Finish.
Oh, that's all.
No, I think your response to that just
Uh,
it just says, I am if you are. And gives again just the most genuine warm smile. Which is again the sign that this whole thing was just so Connor could get Hayes' mind away from thinking about home.
Aw. Shucks.
So out of curiosity, what kind of drinks, if not specific ones, did the 3 of you get, or refreshment generally?
Water! Hydration is important for a good workout.
Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely like water with like a twist of something for flavor, probably like lightest, like maybe lemon or like cucumber or something.
Just
That
water,
Connor
it's
didn't ask
fine.
for, that's just in there, yeah. Well, yeah, that's just what is in this place.
It'll just
I'm
marble,
a
just
smoothie enjoyer personally.
yeah, you know what? Valid.
What's that?
I didn't hear what you said for Hayes.
Oh, I said I am a smoothie enjoyer personally.
Yeah.
Fuck some water. That's just boring.
There's definitely a lot of smoothies that have various like protein, creatine, caffeine, etc. of whatever desire you'd like, or just fruit smoothies.
Finch.
Is Cam
Polyjuice
drinking
potion.
something
No, I'm
healthy?
drinking creatine.
absolutely not. I think Cam.
There is a specialty drink if it was something alcoholic that I actually have made.
Oh, then absolutely that.
Yep, it's called a hero's joy or the hero's send-off, depending on how alcoholic you want. It is at base about 2 knuckles of sunset blush wine, half a can, like a bit of a raspberry soda water, like a half a can, effectively. 2 to 3 shots of creme de violet, and if you want it more alcoholic, you can add a few shots of vodka. Hero's joy is without the vodka. Hero's send-off is with the vodka. It is a rich, sweet drink, except the soda water isn't actually sweetened, so it's pretty good. You can also get a little extra lemon sugar water, like lemon reduced sugar. I made this drink. I did drink craft for this because I wanted to.
He acts like such a fucking preteen. I forget Kana is centuries above the drinking age.
Yeah. He could. Look, he's also like works, and he's an old school like sports guy almost. Is the vibe where he'd be like, "Yes, water." None of this modern Gatorade crap.
Yeah, no, Cam
If
has
he was
absolutely
working,
ordered
he made
this.
it himself.
Probably without the extra vodka.
Hero's joy. Yeah, fair.
Does it come with a little umbrella?
It actually has. I think it's like fruit of your choice, usually like cherries and stuff, on a really long cocktail sword.
Okay.
I love a
stabbed through
cocktail
and it looks
sword,
like a medieval
yo.
sword. Yeah, but it's not like the fencing one. It looks like a more like long sword medieval knight looking thing.
Oh wait, that's baller. Oh, that's
Cam's
good
gonna
as
reach into
fuck.
his.
Because this is a,
Now you know
this is
she
a
didn't
tall
just
glass.
take some board
It's
water,
all,
right?
thin glass, so
Yeah, Cam's gonna reach into his bag and kind of rummage around. And he's gonna pull out two things. He's gonna pull out a long glass straw
Mhm.
and the little umbrella.
To add to it, that's so good.
And he's gonna put them in the drink and kind of mutter to himself, "A colorful drink is never complete without a little umbrella."
You've
That
had this
makes a
discussion
point,
with
to be
Dustin
honest.
before. He's like, the sword is the umbrella, and you're like, it's not an umbrella still. We're not having this argument now, but like that's. He's too busy to have the argument with you at this moment, but you know that's what the argument was. You've been here before.
Yep.
I think at that point, yeah, Connell will just kind of like look out to Cam and to the rest of the group and just, well, friends, I for one feel fulfilled and ready for our next quest.
Ajax would probably turn to Kana and say, to respond or to answer your question earlier, how we think during battle, it is probabilities, percentages, a lot of numbers.
Ooh, I like that moment of Ajax is a little more conversational when talking about math than normal. I think is kind of a rich thing that some of you probably have met other Reborn and know that the longer they're around, the more, I don't know, personable is the word they become.
Yeah.
And seeing some of that in Ajax, I think, is probably interesting in that moment.
Absolutely. I think Kana just smiles and just, friend, your mind may be the one thing faster than me.
No, it is.
Then I will just have to get faster.
I look forward to that. So will I.
Well,
I imagine just like a side-eyed look from Hayes, just like don't give him ideas.
That's
Oh,
the
don't
beach
worry,
fucking
friends.
head.
I'm only going to get faster.
Mhm.
It's only a matter of time. Kana Alba is rapidly inbound to your location.
Oh dear.
You want to see Kana one of three ways. You gotta see him like this, or if you're very unlucky, like this.
It's actually this thing's got 3 speeds, here, there, and gone.
Yeah. I think that this like sort of banter is possibly where we, unless there was more of the scene anyone wanted to run, is where we sort of leave this space with other knights watching, doing their own thing, enjoying a drink. If you guys don't mind, I think that we might then find ourselves skipping a certain amount of time. I don't know if you guys want to take a break sooner rather than later, or if we want to keep going, but I'm in the mood to keep going.
I'm down with either. I'm down to keep
I'm
vibing
good.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see the camera comes out away from New Avalon into a chaotic space and then rezooms in. There is... Any realm we've seen so far has been a sort of perfect sphere from the perspective of the Aether Wild, stripped of human context, this just absolute static of magic. But not so this realm. It is like someone took a ball of dough and imprinted the symbol of the realms on top of it. It is bubbles shaped like petals and a smaller sphere in the middle. That as we enter, the color that everyone associates with the Magnolia Realms, and the one here is green. It is lush and alive and vibrant. Buildings are mostly redwood and low level and sprawling. They seem to have so much space this petal that's between two rivers angled outward that gets wider and wider the farther towards the mountains, far in the distance it becomes. High walled gardens and estates separated from each other and filled with plants and well landscaped rivers and gardens and lawns of every description and variety. People walk between them and through them and seem to be simply enjoying the bounty of being alive and living in and around nature. Their homes are still living wood. Their vehicles, these various like carts that move on their own, seem to also be alive, drawn by wooden structures of horses, like sculptors that carved these things into being, and yet they are all alive. How do all of you sort of enter New Avalon? Do you take the ship? Do you take your own passage, or do you go on Cam's houseboat?
I'll go however the group's going, honestly. I mean, like, I think I'm fine with kind of just popping up on Cam's houseboat if that feels like it's a fun thing to do, but I'm also like, you know, if there's like, if we're taking the ship or if we're like all going as a group some way, then he'll just go with the group. It's totally fine.
The question is more, who's allowed on Cam's houseboat?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am intrigued by the houseboat, but I'm also not inviting myself onto the houseboat.
Oh, Connor's inviting himself.
Hayes would be mortified.
Yeah, I think if Kana invites himself onto the houseboat,
I mean, I think it's less like, I don't think it's literally like he's gonna walk up and be like, hey, can I come with you? I think unless we have some kind of like group like reason why like everyone's gonna go together, I think like Cam's just gonna set off, you know, go off on about his way and like, you know, prepare for a nice, calm, quiet, solitary journey and like settle in on the boat, lean back and just be like, a lovely day, isn't it, friend Cam? And just look over and there's Sakana next to him.
yeah, Cam is gonna essentially fall backwards out of his chair and go, What are you doing here?
I jumped.
Cam's gonna like look back to shore,
Question at all?
realize it's at this point much too far away.
I think that Cam, probably you flash back to a moment when you were leaving the sort of dock on like this lake that's at the edge, because you prefer this thing travels by water. That's how it's built. That's how its like realm engine is built. There was probably like one moment when you were still probably too far for any other person to jump, where you like felt the boat rock a little, but you're like, yeah, this is just, you know, currents. I was moving, and that's probably the moment you're like, oh.
Camera cuts 5 minutes ago. It's just Kana doing the fucking Sonic thing from Green Forest, just like running along tree lines, hopping up a rock, and just like side leaping over and landing on the boat. Just made it.
You know,
And this is much later. I think that Kana probably didn't say anything until they were already good ways away. Yeah.
This was taken in the view.
absolutely. Yeah. You know, my granddaughter did this once. Snuck on board. Had to turn around and send her back.
You have not spoken of your family before.
Family's family. I've always had more important things to do.
Some feel family is very important.
No, family's very important. It's just, you know, they're more suited to the sedentary lifestyle, and I'm much more of a traveler.
That is evident. Tell me about them.
Fine, but here, and he's gonna shove a fishing rod into his hands
Takes it,
and go like,
spins it several times like a staff.
no, the hook goes in the water, and hold on, let me. And Cam's gonna pull out like a second spare rod.
I love the idea of the camera leaving as you're trying to teach Kana how to fish, and we'll maybe get back to that. I think that the tail end of that conversation when you arrive will be funny. So how do the other two of you arrive? You know Maeve is going to be taking the Aether Wake there. And the reason that she has not really participated in this is she has to effectively get through the bureaucracy of the Magnolia Realms, I think, to be officially let in because she is on probation. But yeah, how do you two arrive?
And paperwork.
There is regular transport between them if you would want to take that, or if you have your own sort of vehicles that you might reasonably have access to.
I would probably imagine Hayes would take the regular transportation line.
Take an Aether Hound.
Yeah, it's a little bit that though. I could describe
You
that,
say
and then Ajax, you
Aether
could decide
Hound?
to
I
or not.
just thought that.
Yeah,
I have.
look, I love it. I'm
I just
writing that
had
down
an
in notes.
idea
That
hit my
exists
brain.
now. Uh-huh.
I just had an idea hit my brain of Ajax possibly have made like a motorcycle or something with like a sidecar.
Ooh.
I don't know. That, it was like a little.
I
worm
joined
that-
in the sidecar!
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Fucking buddy cop duo over here.
Let's go!
Because like it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so if I can add some flavor there, I think that
absolutely.
there's no permanent. There's a few permanent pathways between most realms. The ones that don't have like more sustained ones do it on purpose. So there is one between the Reborn Hamlet and New Avalon, and probably a few of the other closer small ones. And there is just like a sustained trail between New Avalon and the Magnolia realms that it has a train track. The sort of Aether Hound is actually a train. It's not like a bus, but it's effectively that. And it is tracks, but there is also like road next to that, and even sometimes semi-permanent structures. They do have to be mobile because this is a little too exposed to the Aether, but structures every once in a while for like, yeah, you want to just stop partway through because it's like a few hours drive, and they don't want to. If you're tired in between, you can stop and get food and stuff. So there's a road that you can take just like a vehicle on, and I do imagine that the Reborn Hamlet has a wide variety of vehicles that you can like help build or just like borrow for exchange of like gathering data on how well it works, because these are all fairly experimental in some way. So is this the question Ajax's that he has built as one of his side projects in the past, or is this somewhat another Reborn's motorcycle he's borrowing?
My thought is that he built it probably not long after him and Hayes started traveling together. So it's probably gotten at least a decent amount of like wear and tear like on the actual vehicle.
And other
like,
Reborn have used it because it is again a communal resource technically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so my thought for like how it's built is probably something close to like an adventure bike, with like the sidecar also having like a similar suspension deal of just being able to basically go anywhere within any realm.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the side effects of this being magical is that it probably makes some sound, but it's not like an engine sound the way we think of it, and so it is fairly easy to keep a conversation up while riding it. So I think that's where you two find yourself, is in this somewhat worn down vehicle that you two have.
I just love the image in my head is, I don't think it would be necessary, but Hayes is wearing like motorcycle goggles. It's just
I
so
think it might, though.
silly.
Like, this thing moves pretty quick, and like there's still, especially in one of these travels between, of creatures just sort of appear, like the souls of effectively dead bugs that are not powerful enough to have like be full aetherlings are just like bugs here. They're just like random bugs. And there's every realm generates a certain amount of wildlife because that's necessary for like a realm to exist and for there to be an ecosystem. So yeah, you do sometimes need to have a little bit of a shield. Maybe Ajax has something that prevents that from ever swiping you in the face, but you know, those goggles are still probably important sometimes when you're this open to the road. What's the conversation like between you two when you travel mostly, or is there a different topic here going to one of the petals, the one that Hayes' mother's family is from?
There are
I think you muted.
usual.
Oh, no.
Oh,
You're good.
am I? Okay,
No, you're good.
I would
Sorry.
say I imagine that they do have a couple of like conversation topics that they usually talk about, which
Mhm.
is like generally like research progress and like
Hmm.
latest findings. But I do imagine that maybe this conversation is a little different
Okay.
as well.
What would be the thing that is most on Hayes's mind or Ajax's mind about the other person? Like, what are they thinking about their traveling companion, I guess?
I think Hayes is hoping that they it's kind of sad. I think they're hoping that they appear competent enough about what's happening in
Okay.
Magnolia once they arrive.
So perhaps Hayes is sharing like details of the like political understanding that they
Mhm.
have of
Yeah.
the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're given like a rundown of like this is this person, this is that person.
But also, this is like, through the lens of my grandfather, who has very particular opinions about everything that's happening all the time.
Yeah,
So, grain of salt.
I think you'd get from him that's like, oh yes, the Fan family that the mother came from is well known for their exporting of these magical materials. The Zhao family is known for being almost fully political creatures, but are also like they tend to produce great warriors, stuff like that. There's the Nuwa family from a different petal that are really good spirit shapers, stuff like that of just these families, that family, etc.
Mhm.
That you're sort of rattling off.
Ajax would absolutely just be eating all of that information up and just cataloging it all.
Data.
TMI stands for tell me immediately. I love information.
In my head, he has the two arms that are like driving, but then two arms split off and are like digital interface listing, like categorizing all of this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And probably like in like one of the lulls of conversation, he'll say, "It is wonderful to learn this, or at least, yeah, to obtain this information of your home realms. You've never invited me over before."
Well, visited in a very long time.
I understand
Maybe
home is a difficult idea for you.
a little bit. It can be confusing. Like if I invited you to my home, well, that's that way. But
You,
good.
it was just like, yeah, you seem to see New Avalon as your home more than the Magnolia realms. Is this due to just time spent, or
I suppose so, yeah. It's been a long time since I've been there. And I always grew up in New Avalon, so most of what I know is like all through the lens of my parents. So it should be interesting going without them for once.
I think the vibe of previous visits has been like vacationing tourism almost. Like I don't know how much your extended like second, third cousins you really spent as much time with, and you can decide that. But at least part of it has been, oh yeah, well there's a great big festival at this time, so we really ought to go. Or I have time off work, let's go see one of the sites. Then it has been, this is our home that we're visiting again.
Yeah.
But your parents probably still have like local knowledge from when they were kids.
Yeah, I imagine some of it would be like family reunion-ish occasionally, maybe on Hayden's dad's side more so. But yeah, definitely more surface level touristy kind of
Yeah,
knowledge.
you know,
Or
your
just
dad's
like
family, to my understanding, are all like these more nomadic spirit callers that
Mhm.
they're from like all over, but they do meet back in one of the petals. Probably still the same one you're going to for like those big
The left
family
petal?
events.
cool. Yeah.
Okay. Ajax will probably, I guess, respond to like reiterate and just, I guess, confirm the information. You see the Magnolia Realms, and more particularly, it was the Lush Petal, correct?
Mhm.
You see it more as home via heritage rather than personal experience. No.
Yeah, it's my family history, I guess. Like part of our story.
Ooh, I think also maybe the neighborhood that you grew up in. Would it have a lot of people from the Magnolia Realms of various kinds, you think? In New Avalon?
I think probably, yeah.
What if it's called the Sixth Petal? That neighborhood outside of New
Oh,
Avalon?
yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, it just occurred to me. I'm like, oh, that's a good name. I gotta
Yeah,
run
I
that.
like
But
that a lot.
anyways, yeah. So there's a lot of that, but also it's still New Avalon. There was still a lot of New Avalon
Yeah.
stuff there.
Yeah. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think this is the conversation. Unless there was more you wanted in that scene, you two. Yeah, you guys sort of have this conversation. You also go back through some of like, oh, these are the politics we know. Ajax, you probably share some of your insights. That's a conversation we have as we see you guys drive in. It's a much shorter drive for you than Cam's houseboat. Cam, probably you left earlier so that you could get your houseboat there. I imagine you guys meet up at a dock where Cam, your houseboat's coming in. What is the end result of this conversation you two had of trying to teach Kana how to fish as it was going?
I think Cam is a decent teacher, at least in terms of fishing. I don't know.
Kana takes to learning any new task the same way he does training at something new. He takes it incredibly seriously. It's like it's not a game to him at all. So like, I think there was a moment where like Kana was very hyped to like learn a new thing, and like he's like, okay, you throw the line in the water, and like threw the line out. I was like, okay, now what? It's like, now you wait. He's like, okay. And I think like after being like, okay, what now? Okay, what now? Okay, what now? For maybe like a good like 30 minutes straight, eventually he just like was like, okay, if the goal was to stay here and wait patiently, it became Akana sitting like cross-legged, stock still, staring directly at the fishing rod and not moving an inch for like as long as he had to.
Yeah, so I think once Kana has like a decent grasp of fishing, the conversation would eventually go back to Cam's family, and that's gonna be fairly long, so shorten it. But like,
yeah,
there's a
where's
conversation
the
there.
point they end on? I guess like
Yeah.
what part of the conversation are we in media resing here?
I think towards the end, Cam has his slate out and is showing Kana pictures that his family has sent him.
Oh, it's such an old
And
man.
These aren't like pictures of them together. It's like a picture of a plate of food, a blurry picture of like a tree, a picture of like a building. And every once in a while there's like a selfie or two or something like that. And then there's like, I don't know, like a picture of like a book or something, just random things. And Cam going, no, not this one, not this one. Oh look, this is the last time we all met up for a fishing competition. That's when I won. I'd show you there's a medal hanging up in the room, but I won something at that competition.
Well,
But yeah,
congratulations on your momentous occasion, friend. A glorious achievement, I am certain.
In my head, there is a basket in front of to the side of Cam and to the side of Kana, and Cam has several fish, and Kana has Kana paid attention to the line enough to get new fish. Is he good at this, or is he kind of like not paid attention as much?
I think it's both. I think Kana, like, there's been moments where, like, in the middle of talking, Cam is like, you should grab that, by the way. You should grab that, by the way. And Kana's, like, just too busy, like, focusing on the conversation to, like, notice his lying snags a bit. But I think the one time like Cam gets like frustrated, is like, Kana, your line, and Kana's like, oh, and turns and like pulls. It's like it's a fish far bigger than it has any fucking right to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yup. That aether, it'll do that.
Yeah, and that's sort of, I think, we see the one big fish and then several of like more reasonable sized fishes for actually like eating and using in these two baskets is as it comes in, and you four meet up here at the dock.
From the top of the bow, just waving. Friend Hayes, friend Ajax.
It's as you all meet that a figure sort of walks out from some of the shops and places for like parking vehicles towards you. She is probably about as tall as Hayes is. She has horns similar to Hayes, although I think are probably, they're clearly been carved on purpose to have like a floral pattern into them. The hair is like a more vibrant brown, almost like a deep wood brown, tied up into a pretty extravagant low bun, flowers through it. She stands forward in not formal wear, but clearly like business casual is probably the level of this like silk dress with still pants, like it's still practical. As you must be the beacons, or at least those who have gotten entry into our realm. I'm Jasmine Fawn, and she bows to the four of you. Hayes, do you know Jasmine? Is this part of your like family on your mom's side that you've spent some time with?
I imagine they met when they were much younger, a very long time ago, and Hayes is like, I think I vaguely remember meeting this person, but maybe not. That might have been someone else.
Then after like that official greeting, and you can tell there's a very big difference, then to you, Hayes, it's Hayes, I don't believe we've seen each other in a decade. It's nice to see you here.
It's good to be back.
And we'll offer like probably more like like a little bit of a hug if Hayes is comfortable with that. Like we'll try and feel that out. And in that moment, you do feel her magic as a spirit like medium. She specializes in panthomancy, being able to feel and understand the emotions of people around her, and in theory even manipulate it if she was into attack mage stuff. But you don't think that she is like a battle mage in any kind. So you feel that like gentle contact of magic, so that it seems like she just effortlessly knows how physically comfortable you need to be in that moment, or you're okay with. And it is a polite cousin hug, you know, like, yes, I know this person, and we are okay doing this. We're so happy that you came. It's an honor to have the beacons in our realm, despite what maybe some of the more nitpicky politicians might have you say with your fifth member.
Is he gonna say this? Yeah, fuck it, why not? I think Kana will look, and again, just earnest smile and just, a pleasure to meet you. I am Kana Alva of Lona. Our captain spoke of you, Jasmine. He did not mention you, or they did not mention you were so pretty, though.
It's a genuine smile, but again, still clearly practiced. There's not like a blush. It's like, well, I will have to tell Captain Zane. I'll have to thank Captain Zane for the compliment. But please, we have so much to show you. And we'll sort of gesture towards the city. Anything else in this scene that you guys want?
Oh, just immediately following that compliment would look over and just, they remind me of you, friend Ace.
Well, we are.
And just keeps walking, not realizing he just called Hayes really pretty without thinking about it.
Like,
Yeah.
gonna take it as a family resemblance thing, not as a compliment, hopefully.
Cam, I assume you're like tying your boat up here?
Yep.
You
I'm assuming there's like a docking fee and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you go to the dock, and Jasmine's like, "Oh, we've paid for a spot. We were told that you were coming.
Oh, great. Well,
You
nothing
pick
to
it.
worry about.
It's not, we're not particular as to where, but and then the dockmaster's like, yes, of course. Just looking to her. It's all been arranged. Whichever spot you would like, and it's a Eddie. It's a dock. There's just a lot of spots for us. If there's a specific point he would like, he can. But otherwise, it's just wherever.
Nah, he's just gonna first available spot.
Yeah. And as well, the motorcycle can be sort of garaged, but there's also Ajax. There's a bunch of Reborn around, so I think that they all just can like take that back if they need to. It's like a very complex rideshare, but you're all really good at coordinating because Reborn.
I imagine it's like a vehicle-based kind of Uber almost. It's like,
Yeah.
like it connects to like whoever built it through the vehicle and just be like, hey yo, I'm gonna take this vehicle to here.
Yeah, and then it just tracks where it is, and so any other Reborn in the system could be like, oh, there's a motorcycle here. I can just take that back, and you can request, hey, could someone bring this here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, communal resource. Yeah, so it's easy to find a garage, and you are then sort of directed towards the vehicle you'll use to sort of get around here that Jasmine has prepared. It is basically a wooden cart, like almost old-timey to your senses. And again, it has a horse out in front of it that is also made of wood. It's articulate and alive, and it seems to breathe. Under like sort of a wooden skeleton or around it is built bushes of magnolias, actually, as it is sort of like clearly meant to be the Magnolia Realm, and each flower is perfectly the shape of the Magnolia Realm symbol. Which is not really how magnolias look, but that's kind of like a manipulation of this.
That's how these kind of magnolias look.
Exactly. It's close enough.
God damn it.
Because they usually have more petals, but they are still like clearly defined petals, so they're just perfectly shaped in a way that's like, that's weird.
Artist's rendition, if you will.
Almost
Yeah,
like a blender render or whatever.
But yeah, as you're start leaving, there's like a nice canopy. It's comfortable. There's probably even some water in there if you need it. It's like we have several days before, or we have a day before the party tonight. If there's anything you'd like to see, but I have prepared a tour if you would just like to see what is around our fair realm.
I don't see a problem with the tour, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, so then I guess, is there any like thing in the realm that you want to get a quick overview of as part of this tour?
I mean, I don't know if Kana would have the wit to like say it, but someone smarter than him should recommend if we go see the Realm Crystal.
Interesting.
Just to go like,
That seems like something Ajax might ask, but
yeah, because in my head I'm like, okay, if we know for a fact that we're kind of like trying to keep our eye out for anybody that's like trying to do some fuck shit with the Realm Crystal, quote unquote, and like while we don't know who that could be or anything, we know that their end goal is
knowing where it is a good idea. Yeah.
If we assume that they're like anything like what happened with Fennec, they're gonna want to fuck with the Realm Crystal as their end goal. So getting an eye on it would be solid. That's my out of character reason. If anybody in character thinks that's totally valid, do the thing.
Cool. And this could be even a little out of character. Anything else in particular? I know Cam, you might want to know where the spirit color garden parties will be.
Yes. So Cam is definitely going to ask about that.
Mhm.
Like, if they've...
Yeah.
Yeah. And then secondarily, like, obviously, fishing spots. If there's, like, a special fishing competition during these, like, garden parties.
So, because the idea here is that you guys don't actually end up asking. The other two, if you want to add something while I'm sort of describing some of these, you can go for it. The first thing that you see as you go past is instead of going immediately into the city, you entered at sort of the edge of the realm, but near one of the major rivers. And the cart's going down one of these two rivers that create the barrier for this realm. And there's smaller ones that go in towards the center. As you get closer towards the sort of actual center of the full realms, the sort of wedge that is this one petal, the city gets more dense, but it really doesn't get bigger. It's more like the gardens get more extravagant. The estates don't get larger, but get more intricate. As you're going down this river, the first bridge that's between them, Cam, you see that there is quite a lot of fishing, like a pretty substantial fishing culture over these bridge, and certain little boats that go between them or go on them. Jasmine first. Cam, we were told that you had a love of fishing. We wanted to show you some of these places. I know that you've been here before and probably in the lakes and rivers more central, but this is where really a lot of our better fishermen go, is these bridges. Usually the ones farther out. This one is the most popular. The farther into the city, the more noise, and I'm sure you're familiar, the less the fish bite, as etc. is what I'm told. This bridge here is where that record-breaking, what was it, a bass that you guys said? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, freshwater bass is what I
Yeah.
had said.
Yeah, this is that the record-breaking bass was caught that I was told about.
Oh, really? Do you know, I have this, I've got this universal fishing license. Does that work here, or is there like a Magnolia specific license?
I don't know why.
Yeah, it'd be called the inter-realm. It'd be the inter-realm fishing license that you have. It's like, yes, usually you need to get a reservation for a spot. These bridges are very popular, but I'm sure we can.
I got my IRFL. Don't worry, it's cool.
Yeah.
I got my tag stamp, license to fish.
I got that weed coming up. But yeah, it's like usually you have to reserve a spot, but I'm sure we can find you a place if you would like later.
Okay.
As you walk past. There's a few other things that are seen beforehand. In fact, most of the rest of the realm, as she takes this sort of zigzag pattern more towards the center as they leave the river, most of the realm you see before you get to the crystal, which is like sort of the other spot. You see pavilions where there is music festivals and artistry. There are theaters and things like that. But everything is formatted like a garden. Every structure, every building has plants all over it with various flowers and fruit trees where you don't know exactly how they're marked until it's explained to you that it is sort of like the bushes around, the ones with the magnolia flower. It's like, yeah, those are city fruit trees. You can just take some fruit off of it when you want. It's just there for snacking, stuff like that. And there are workers who tend to all of these plants and all of these living plant creatures that sort of work as beasts of burden. All around through the city. Real quick, were there any like points of interest other than the crystal? Just before I get to that.
I love the freaking fruit trees. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I did have a very funny aside that I thought was interesting,
Yeah,
but
go.
it's not like a.
Yeah,
I just thought it was really funny that like every time I think of a Kanaism that involves an animal, I have to come up with some weird fantasy animal, and then Chow's just like, yeah, the world's largest freshwater bats was caught here. I just thought it was really funny. That's all. I'm sorry.
Transcends all.
I think that this freshwater bass probably has a very different fish name in the Old Isles. Is the thing. I think a lot of the creatures Kana references are either fully like magical creatures or just a creature that also exists that everyone would have a different name for, and it's difficult to parse them when listening to him.
I like that. I accept that. That makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah. Especially like the Old Isles have this history of a very different language history because people live so long, it gets muddied.
True.
Yeah, I think as part of that,
is probably like nearly non-existent in the Old Isles. Like, just words are carried from like long dead languges.
Imagine talking to a motherfucker who still spoke Middle English. What?
I'm imagining one trying to be hip, mixing language and like slang from multiple generations. I bite my thumb at thee, good bitch. You know.
Forthwith, this occasion it's Liddy.
Exactly. During the tour, Jasmine is conversational, personable. I think without having to like try and figure anything out about her, she's enjoys a good barb. I think she teases maybe a Kanaism or like a misunderstanding every once in a while, but also seems to be appreciative. She's easy to get along with, but is always polite and refined the way a politician is, but like a friendly one. Effectively, she knows how to deal with people.
And if I was playing even a slightly flirty character, you're so lucky right now, boss. Like,
Oh, don't worry. Anyways, as you get closer to the center, she starts. I think one of you maybe would ask beforehand. You can decide about the realm crystal. Who would be like, oh, where is that?
I feel like Ajax would probably be the most
Mhm.
interested in it, especially like knowing their knowledge with like how the realm crystals work, the concept and I guess the reality of 5 realms budding off of a single crystal, especially when most realms only have one realm per crystal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The fact that there are not just multiple, but a significantly large amount of entire realms budding off of the single crystal. I guess, yeah, 6 individual realms within a single crystal is intriguing to them to like a point where like they at some point they would say request, can we take a short stop at the crystal? I would love to observe it.
Yeah, you're almost to the sort of the narrowest point of this realm. It's like, oh, that's actually our next stop, sort of. I have to apologize that you'll be unable to enter the Crystal Palace, but as you sort of make a turn back towards the center, and Ajax, especially since you've studied this, you'll know you're pointing right at the center, towards this center realm. There is a one more bridge and a river that looks to your eyes almost like a curved circular around one center palace. It is the largest building by far you've seen, and the only one of many stories in the whole realm. Mostly they've gotten to maybe 3 stories tall here. This is 10, 15, 20, and complex. And in fact, you would see, looking at it, the shape almost is shifting. And you would sense that, yeah, that circular thing is the barrier between them, and the bridge is, like the other bridges, a passage into it. Like, that is the Crystal Palace. This is, unfortunately, as close as we can get, she says, as it sort of parks next to it. We do have what you consider a tourist building here, and it's just to the side, that you would be able to learn more as to what we tell the tourists about it. There are some basics. It is technically all one realm that is simply spidered out this way, you could say, like a grand weaving. But none are allowed in except for during the Council of 5 Petals, as well as the various guards. I have this name here. Give me a second. We have the Guardians of the Realm Palace that are in charge. And in midway saying that, a voice, a strong, boisterous voice says, "Ah, the beacons! Let me take over, my love." And a figure, he has pink skin and also horns and a tail, in a clearly athletic robe, leaps from the building halfway across the bridge, skids into the foot of it, and then stands. And in his hand grows a pronged wooden staff that he pounds resolutely onto the foot. Like, "Beacons, hear me. I am Thorn Zhao, the Rose Knight and Guardian of this castle and this palace. You are welcome here, but no further, for I am the one at the gate."
Ajax will still like he's still like almost uncharacteristically stubborn at this point of like I want to gather as much info as possible. They will try to do like a soul link with the crystal itself.
At this distance, you can get a sense of it if you want to use magic. Is one of the actions you have. I'm gonna say even at like a perfect one, you're not gonna get a lot out of it, but you will be able to get a sense of it here.
Mainly just like the main idea is to like, my idea is that each realm has its own like harmony. Like,
yeah,
when you are close enough to it, you can feel like the harmonies that it has and like almost this pulsing. Ajax wants to get a feel of the harmonies, especially with how many
Yeah.
realms there are, and just like let's get more of like a like an outs like if you're looking at an engine and while it's running, just being like, okay, so these are the bits and bobs of this that's going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy use magic, both the way that you do it and then the roles for you to consider for a moment. But for everyone else, you have been sort of not confronted. He doesn't seem like he's moving forward, and even
Oh, yeah,
as he
no,
says this, you see Jasmine sort of roll her eyes. It's like, Thorn, we are playing nice with the beacons. But you have a moment.
I think Kana just looks back and forth and just. It seems strange to find one so boisterous in a realm like this.
Thorn, barking laughter. Ha! Don't let such a lovely flower fool you. We have warriors here too amongst the gardens.
I would certainly hope so.
One cannot leave a realm unprotected, and every rose has, as I say, its thorns.
Kana does not laugh. just staring.
Excellent. Jasmine again rolls her eyes, and she stands next to Thorn in a way that makes it clear that they are very close. She's like right in sort of his shoulder like space here. She comes up maybe like to here to him at the top of her head.
So what I'm hearing is she has a thing
bigger.
for morons.
And Thorn puts a hand like politely on like sort of the side of her arm. It's not like down to her waist. It's and Jasmine says, "This is Thorn. He is the Rose Knight and protector, our Petal's protector of the Crystal Palace. And let's say just one of the lead suitors for my hand." And they seem to... They lean in a bit. They seem to be obviously together to anyone who can pick up on social cues.
To call him a lead suitor is so funny. It makes it sound like the fucking Bachelor or some shit.
It's kind of crazy, actually.
Would you like to remember some lore, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Recall lore.
I would love to.
I'm going to
recall
say that I have the question
more.
for you of, like, what does that mean, lead suitor, I think is the question.
Yeah, lead
Yes,
suitor.
Jasmine.
What
Tell
is
me how to
happening
culturally
here?
romance your cousin. I mean, what?
Can I take advantage of upholder of Magnolian tradition here?
Absolutely.
100%.
Oh, I didn't roll too high. How's a 7? No, an 8.
An 8.
An 8.
Oh, it's the...
Look at this.
Reroll table.
What would... You can if you'd like, but this is really just to recall information, and I think this is more interesting. What do you think the reason... Like, what's the reason you wish wasn't true, or that Hayes' wish wasn't true to that?
Well, so in my head, I'm like, oh, lead means there's someone else, right? I really... What I wish is that it's not this guy. He seems like an asshole. So I wish it wasn't true that it's him, for real? That they're, like, probably going to get married?
The idea is, what does lead suitor mean? I think the answer, if I'm reading Hayes right, is it is untrue. Is there's a lot of social pressure as to, like, for someone in her position as to who she should marry, but they make it a contest, and he is, unfortunately, because you do not like him, the one who is leading that contest. He seems to be both either the most politically connected or the most, I don't know, like, successful of the various suitors she has.
Etc.
It's not usually strength. It is, like, it is political standing, but being a powerful warrior who does a noble and good job is of high standing.
So what I'm hearing is if I have enough strength.
If I have enough clout.
What
Look,
Yeah.
I'm hearing is if you have a boyfriend but he can't beat me in a fight, then you're single.
I could beat him up though. Yeah, so And then I think Thorn, to sort of the end of that conversation, of that explanation, is like, and it is wonderful to see some fellow knights here as well. And you see that on his, I guess, robes, there is a symbol of knighthood, of being a Knight of New Avalon. There's sort of a crest.
Interesting. Yeah.
He says,
I think Hayes will like nod, kind of like a half bow, and like
mhm.
say like basically expressing appreciation for his
Yeah.
work in protecting this petal.
And there is a polite sort of a bow back, and unless someone else has something else in this moment.
My thought is that
You have that magic
my
though.
dice have been my dice have been blessing me today. I've got a 20 on the die plus 1 for grit.
Damn. All right. So, what is the
Yeah.
purpose of what you're doing, and what's the boon? And you don't have to do the bane because you rolled good enough. It doesn't matter. But
The purpose is to mainly just gather information and like how the crystal is doing what it is doing. Is it just a large enough physical crystal to where there is room to house these in an individual spell per each realm?
okay.
Or is it just one really, really fucking complicated spell for like all 6
All
of
of them,
these
yeah.
realms?
All right. So then you also get to pick a boon. So either it is fast, quiet, or powerful, or you can come up with some other stuff. I think there's a greater list
I
somewhere,
really
maybe.
like the idea of like he was preparing like to do this, and then Thorn showed up and says, "You're not getting any further," and he went, "Alrighty, well, I'll just do it fucking quiet then. You'll never fucking know."
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
almost
perfect.
like subnet almost of just like I'm a learn this shit and you can't stop me.
Yeah, in my head, the way that Ajax sort of does this is you're told no further. And he had a big smile. Like, he really didn't threaten you as much as it seems like he said, this is the law here. But you sort of taking offense to that, for a moment, your magic connects with this place. And what does Ajax's magic feel like when it's the most vibrant? When he feels the most alive doing magic, what is that like?
Ooh. You ever let's see. My thought is like when you if you've ever seen like an excavator be piloted by someone who has been doing it for just so long, like even
Mechanics
the
as an
most,
extent of a person that they're that good. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like it is with so much precision and accuracy, but also fluid. Like there's like almost no waste time. There's no like
it's the zone
reconsidering of movements. Yeah.
So oh, sorry, if you want to finish that description, but
that's you got it.
Yeah. So Ajax, you are in that moment. You feel connected to everything. You feel like you understand down to the tiniest calculation the physics of the water and the earth and the living things around you. That vibrancy is clicks into an equation in your head. You see the fucking Matrix, and that lets you see even through this passageway. And what you can tell are many layers of magical, like in obfuscation, to make sure you don't have all of the details. You understand. This is a crystal that is probably maybe a bit bigger than, say, New Avalon's, because they're about the same scale. But it is the structure of the crystal itself and the spell inside of it. It is a 5-ringed, almost Celtic knot would be the modern equivalent of a spell. They are not 5 separate spells held together by one, but it is a weave of one realm leading into the next realm, leading into the next realm in a 5-ring cycle around. You understand that to separate them would require such intricate and complex unweaving and reweaving of each of these places as to be that is the true difficulty of doing this. Again, you could rebuild the place from scratch, but that would be massively disruptive to these cultures, like the industry, the people, the lives. It would things would move, building locations would change, everything would have to be rearranged. It is a specific shape and a specific pattern, and even then, the vibrancy of this place would be diluted and reduced if it did not have this constantly flowing interchange. You don't know you could recreate the crystal spell, but like you now understand its structure in a deeper way than you had before.
Okay.
And this castle is really itself basically a structure in the wild aether. It's why it looks like it changes, in that it is not part of the realm. It is simply the single pin that puts it together.
Okay, and that's yeah. So yeah, because that would explain why it is so like at least heavily guarded as it is, because being just a single pin, if that were to fall, all 5 of them would start to collapse.
Well, like any
immediately.
individual realm, if you remove the crystal, the whole thing would collapse like a soap bubble. This is instead more like one of those popsicle stick bombs when you take the first one out and they just.
Yeah.
That's the popsicle stick, the center one.
Yeah.
With his showboating done, Thorn seems to relax. His spear sort of dissipates. It's like, well, now that we have that established, I understand that there are some dinner parties to go to tonight. And then to Jasmine, I suppose I'll see you there? He says, of course. Well then, beacons and fellow knights, I bid you farewell. Perhaps we can meet together tonight. I would not mind a sparring match with someone as famed as yourself, Kana of the All Dials. He gives a polite bow to you and a deep bow to Jasmine, including holding her hand and kissing the top of it. He says, and farewell. And as he leaps, his cloak, like he creates a cloak of rose petals behind him that then lifts him away onto a horse that was just nearby. Like, it just looked like a regular wooden horse with like bushes, but when he lands, it is pink roses all up and down it that grow as he leaves, like a crazy over-the-top cavalier man that he is. Rose petals falling all the way. Jasmine seems delighted at how over the top he is. He's like, I hope his mother can manage him.
He seems interesting.
Far more interesting than most of the other men who are attempting to date me.
Can't argue with that.
I take it that's a good thing.
And she pauses for a minute. She usually has like a ready response. You've known her to be quite clever. I have been struggling recently with if I should do the thing that is best for politics or me. But enough about that. We can talk more later. Let's, final stop is where you will be staying if you so choose. It's my understanding your captain of the Aetherwake will be parking your ship nearby. You can always stay there, but we do have accommodations if you would like. She sort of gestures back to the vehicle if you'd like to go.
Hazel will follow dutifully.
Yeah.
Ajax would probably like stay like what's the word? Just like completely ignoring almost anything that had been going on.
Just happened, like whatever this wild shit was.
Yeah, just like that is silly organic stuff. I don't fucking give a shit about any of that. And just kind of almost stare at like the temple of just like, I know what you are, and
Yeah.
and probably like it'll look like a second or two later, and they'll be able to realize, oh, people are moving. Let's go.
Yeah, you're last in the cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is not far of a drive before you are brought to the Fan household estate. It's tall gates with again these magnolia symbols. It seems like as maybe their family symbol, maybe as part of the council, they are like allowed to use these official sort of symbols to mark where they live. But you do see some subtle differences. Like the coloring is different in some of these symbols that you assume that that's what marks Fawn. And in fact, Hayes, I think you would recognize some of the colors in your some of your mother's like formal wear. It's a lot of whites and pinks and golds. There's streaks in these. There are guards at the gate who open this broad redwood door as you are brought into their gardens. And just debating if this is a good spot to sort of end with a little monologue, unless you guys wanted to explore this space a little more.
I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm okay with ending it.
I'm okay either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's as you enter, and I need to quiet some of these things down. So you enter, and things become more quiet around you. There are two figures by a pond. A older man and an older woman who seem clearly similar to Jasmine, with a sort of a green sort of skin tone and horns. The man has more, I don't know, forward, strong, sort of a horn shape that he has carved. He's broad shoulders and gentle posture as he is holding up in front of the woman it's like a bird that is made of pine and little white flowers, and it goes from a little statue, almost like a little what are those with the trees that you sort of trim into a specific shape, like a bonsai, almost like a bonsai sculpture of a bird, to flapping and breathing and moving. And the woman in front of him finds it delightful as he lifts it up and it goes around, and she smiles, but in a regal way. She is calm in this moment and appreciative of it. It's as you sort of leave this cart and it is taken away, Jasmine walks between you and them and says, Beacons, this is Craig and Willow Fern, my parents. Willow, one of the leading members of the council for our pedal.
Remind me, Tate. Was she the one that invited us, or was it someone else?
Yes. Willow was at least the one who signed it, and it's sort of like the council wants you, but the one who sent it. The seal had their colors, you could say, and their signatures.
Okay. Hayes will bow and say, "Thank you for your invitation, Mrs. Fawn."
Willow will bow pretty respectfully back to you. As equals, I think, would be what Hayes would understand, just having like these traditions. And we are honored to have you, minus the last of your party that I believe should be arriving soon. And in a solemn moment, it's like, and we are so grateful because we need your help. And with that, I think is an excellent place for us to stop and say thank you everyone for being here. Start next time. And thank you everyone who was here for watching us today on Knights of New Avalon, a Beacon Odyssey. I have had a wonderful time today, and I'm sure my players have too. And I would love for them to tell us who they are, who they were playing, and where we can find them next. I'm gonna let you guys popcorn. Whoever wants to go first.
Dibs. Hey, what's going on, gang? It's Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as Fair Fox Philly's finest. That can be found all over the internet at Young Foxy. It's YUNGFOXXI, sometimes with an underscore in the middle of it. You're gonna catch me all over your screens and places next week, but in particular, you'll catch me next Friday for another episode of Steel and Arbor, our Humble Wood adventure. We've started off literally last week. And funnily enough, that actually might be all you see of me for that week. But if you come back not too long afterwards, you might see me for some other wonderful things, such as Jump City Sirens, the upcoming This World We Broke, and, excitedly for me at the end of the month, another episode of Tears of Divinity Frozen Chronicle. So, lots of wonderful things coming from me. Stay locked in the Allies Roleplay. Thanks for being here, guys. Y'all are great. I've been Foxy. You've been incredible. Mwah. I'm throwing it to Lucian.
Hey, I'm Lucian. I played Cam, our fishing enthusiast. No, you'll see me on Steel and Arbor. It's gonna be great. And then after that, the week after, at this again. And yeah, I'm gonna throw it over to Egg.
Oh, hi, I'm Emily, or Egg-chan. I played Haze Yoon, Sapphire's Glare, and you can find me here on Twitch as Egg-chan, and also on Itch as Egg-Chan. I'm here not this next week, but the week after on Wednesday for Jump City Sirens again, and then back here with these lovely people, so that's exclusive. Well, pass it to Chops.
Ew, okay, I'm not muted. I'm Chouse. I played Ajax, the Trailblazer. Boy howdy, I slung some guns. There we go.
Rootin', tootin', and shooting, my man.
Yep.
Had to make sure I said that right. I don't know how bad that could have gone. Any which way. I've absolutely enjoyed playing Ajax and the little mannerisms I've been able to just like slip in.
Yep. And what will we see you next?
Probably here in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
Not like I typically have just been falling off the face of the internet for last little bit between episodes.
Entirely fair. Well, we're happy to have you here next time. And speaking of, thank you, Twitch and Internet, for being here. My name is Tate Washburn. I played literally everybody else that you met here today. You can find me at Tate the Terrific on any place that I care to be found. If you find me somewhere else, no, you didn't. What you should really do is follow this channel's Blue Sky Neon Lights Roleplay. That's where several people who are much funnier than me run it, and also where we announce all of our cool stuff that we're doing. We retweet cool stuff that we're involved with that we like, or or you could join us on Discord, where we meme and we stream and we pick up players for stuff like this or other little fun one-shots we're doing. And it's also, where we announce cool stuff before we announce it anywhere else. You will find me next time on Steel and Arbor, where I am playing a very shy boy who who looks like he's a real badass, but he's just socially awkward all the time. And then back here for our next installment of Knights of New Avalon. I've had a lovely time playing, and also thank you all for being here for what is our 1-year anniversary of becoming an affiliate.
It's like 2, right?
Is this
Or
one?
2
I don't
years?
know how many.
Yeah, sorry. You
It's
guys
our
said
second anniversary of being
I
affiliate.
just had no idea.
It just says anniversary.
Some
I don't
number.
know how many.
Some number.
An anniversary of Great
We've
Pigeon.
been around.
We've been here for a low grip, ain't you mean? Like,
It's been great, and we look forward to many more years doing it. We've been the Knights of New Avalon, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.